Hello everybody, welcome to my Global Fish Survey consultation. This is going to take about 5 to 7 minutes. I hope you guys enjoy. Now to first go into our two fishes that we have recognized in this survey consultation. First one being the American eel. As you can see from the taxonomy, it's from the phylum Chordata, class Actinopterygii. I hope I'm saying that right. And as you can see, this is a taxonomy of the American eel in kind of the species Anguilla rostrata. I hope I'm saying that right as well. Then we have the second fish that we are going to be looking into, and that is the Australian lungfish. This one is very popular as it kind of explains the history of how the fish became tetrapods, essentially. And if you look at their phylum, they're the phylum Chordata as well, which is the fish phylum, class Dipnoi, order Ceratodontiformes, species Neoceratodus forsteri. Now we're going to look into these species that are related. So they're closely related species to the American eel, there is not a lot of options for the American eel to have any relatives as the European eel. The European eel and the American eel actually share the same spawning area, and so they are very similar in traits, the similar phylums, and kind of all that stuff. The European eel also lives in a freshwater, but they can be found in Europe and Asia. And then for the Australian lungfish, a closely related species to the tetrapods, otherwise known as the land vertebrates. And that was the only thing I could really look up to see what they were mostly related to, and that is it. So next up we have the characteristics that define how I decided on the American eel and the Australian lungfish. So we're looking at the American eel. It has the elongated body, as you can see. That's the European eel, but if you look up, you can see the American eel. It has the elongated body. It's got pectoral fins, but no pelvic fins. The lateral line is well developed. It's got a terminal mouth, which means the mouth is at the bottom, which makes it easier for feeding on the numerous sand areas and crustaceans. It's got very small teeth, and it has a vertebrate ranges of 103 to 111 vertebrates. The scales are present, but they're rather minute, so it kind of looks like they're scaleless, and they only appear after the age of 3. Then we got the Australian lungfish. It also has an elongated body, kind of like the American eel. This one actually has 5 pairs of gills, and the reason it is called the lungfish is it actually has a lung, and it has the ability to breathe air for short periods of time. It has a lighter dorsal side with the dotted black-brown spots on the fins, the small subterminal mouth, and it has massive tooth plates with radiating ridges and numerous sense pores. Alright, and now where is the American eel found? So they are actually found in the Sargasso Sea, and they actually live their entire life cycle as freshwater fish. During spawning and for migrating and spawning and reproduction, they head to the open ocean when they are sexually mature, which is during springtime roughly. And the larvae move from the Sargasso Sea. It follows the Gulf Current, and then just gradually moves towards the continental shelves, and from there they begin migrating towards river and freshwater streams, and eventually they make their way full circle back to the Sargasso Sea. And this, as you can see, is just an example of their migration patterns and kind of how they're distributed along that little side right there between Canada, United States, and Mexico, and the Sargasso Sea. Now, we're looking at the Australian lungfish. They are very isolated. They are only really found in the southeastern Queensland, and natural distribution being the Mary. And now that tiny yellow spot right here is kind of their distribution area. It's not very big. They can actually live for between 20 to 25 years of age. They are very sedentary. They live a very sedentary lifestyle. So they prefer the slow-flowing rivers and still waters, the reservoirs. They can be found in deep pools between 3 to 10 meters in depth, and they don't follow a set migratory path. Like I said, they're a more sedentary lifestyle, which they kind of like to stay in one place for long periods of time, possibly their whole life. Now, if we're looking at the reproduction cycle of the American eel, you can kind of see over here that they start out as a glass eel, and then the larva form of the elver, the yellow eel, silver eel, spawning, eggs, and eventually the glass eel. So sexual maturity occurs at ages 3 for the males and between 4 and 7 for females. They're catadromous, and they spawn in the Sargasso Sea, so they're pelagic spawners. The females can actually lay up to 30 million eggs at one time. They can actually live between 5 to 40 years, but they generally die after spawning. Looking at the lungfish, there wasn't really a reproduction life cycle picture that was good enough, so it kind of just explains the 3 different levels that they have. This is the Lepidosiren, the Protopterus, and the Neoceratodus. So you kind of can see how they kind of develop the pectoral fins, the dorsal fins, and all that. So spawning actually occurs in the river section. Sexual maturity is said to be roughly at 17 years old. They generally have a spawning season between September and October, so not really springtime, more of the fall time. And they do not lay millions and millions of eggs like other species can do, like the American eel. They only lay a few hundred at a time. Looking at their length range, they can actually grow up to 150 centimeters, and like I said before, they can live between 20 to 25 years of age. All right, so conservation status and regulations. So the American eels were actually in 2012 considered to be endangered by the IUCN. And there is a permit required for all eel fisheries if they are going to harvest or capture any of these American eels, as well as a commercial fishing license. Now, researchers and conservationists have actually made a plan to capture every single eel that they can find in the Hudson River, count them, and then eventually return them to a closer home range that is more like the habitat that they're used to. This has helped quite tremendously. They're actually seeing populations increasing. Excuse me. Populations are, like I said, are considered to be increasing. One of the main concerns for American eels is the fact that they have so much habitat loss with the building of dams. The dams kind of block all that water from them, and so they're losing a lot of their spawning territories, so they're kind of losing their numbers. If we look at the Australian lungfish, they're listed as vulnerable, but they're also extremely important to protect, as they are the link between the tetrapods and the fish, and we still don't have enough information as to how that all happens, so they are our one chance to kind of figure it out. So they are actually not allowed to be captured without a special license. They are considered protected, and some of their regulations that are in place is the strict regulations on strict regulations for any kind of fisheries who are looking to capture them. And a big part of the reason that they're losing numbers is flooding due to the dams as well, removing them from their breeding sites as well. And they're considered aquarium pets, not for food consumption. Now, if we were going to diagnose the American eel, one of the first things to do is to take culture samples. Any culture samples of the dorsal fin, little clips here and there. You can do skin scraping. There's many other ways that you can kind of get some cultures and look at them under the microscope for examination. The microscope from the examination can give you the best kind of idea of what is really going on that we cannot see with the naked eye. Now, the naked eye can check for like the yellow spots, white spots, different kinds of behaviors, whatever we're kind of looking for that kind of looks like the fish is not doing that well. That could be swimming patterns are off. It could be they're like listless, they're lethargic, they're not eating, any kinds of things that, aren't right with the fish that we definitely need to check and make sure that they're doing okay. And now, unfortunately, this parasite is not deadly. So fortunately, this parasite is not deadly, but the unfortunate side is how much energy is expended trying to deal and live with that particular parasite. All right, and in conclusion, there is a conservation effort going on called Save the Lungfish, and this program is designed to fight the government on building another dam, and this dam could actually threaten the population of the lungfish, so they're actually working with local and federal government. The local and federal government are looking into possible impacts that the dam will have, and we're hoping that it will all work out and the dam will be prevented. Now, as you can see from this presentation, I kind of geared towards the lungfish on conservation matters, just because of the sheer fact of how much history it can give us and how much more insight into the past that we don't know, and have hopefully be able to figure out kind of how the fish began to make the move from the water to the land. And I just think that is a very, very important piece of research that we still need to study and kind of hopefully save this fish and kind of figure out what's going on. And that is my entire presentation. I hope you guys enjoyed it and you guys have a great day. There are my sources for this entire presentation, and thank you so much.